Hey, I'm Tashaka Armstrong, and today we're going to be taking a look at another wearable product. This time we're looking at a smartwatch from Samsung. This is the Gear S2, and this changes the navigation paradigm on your smartwatches, which has typically been a swipe up or down, left to right, to navigate the user interface. In this case, they've included a rotating bezel, which allows you to move through the various apps and functions on the smartwatch. They've also added wireless charging in a neat little cradle to the package. But does this watch stand up in a sea of watches which have launched recently, taking advantage of the round watch face or the more conventional watch styles in an effort to lure conventional watch wearers into the market? We'll take a look right now. Let's get into just what all this watch has to offer. On the right side of the watch, you'll see you have two buttons. That's a home button and a back button. So of course, the two buttons do exactly what they say, what it sounds like. The back button will take you back one screen once you're in the menus, and the home button, once you're in whatever screen you're in, will take you right back to home. So what do you get when you get the Samsung Gear S2? In this case, they've taken the popular interface that you move through with swiping and added another element to that. You can actually do all the things that you could do with swiping now with the bezel. So rotate the bezel counterclockwise, and you'll see you wind up where your notifications are. So any notifications you get to the watch, text messages, phone calls, missed calls, those types of things, you'll see those when you rotate counterclockwise or rotate to the left. When you rotate to the right from the home screen, that takes you into what Samsung calls the widgets or apps or applets, if we're being technically correct here. That allows you to swipe through or rotate through up to about 15 of these widgets, including when you get to the end. If you haven't already put 15 on, you can just tap the plus sign there, and that will allow you to move through the other options that are available to you for adding to that quick access screen, to the widgets. The beauty of this interface is that, let's say when you get into the apps here, you see we have a circle full of apps and 3 screens of those. Instead of trying to move through the apps by touching the screen, which is only 1.2 inches, so your fingers kind of get in the way of seeing what you're accessing. In this case, with the rotating bezel, now you can just move right through the apps, and when you want to select one, you just tap the center of the screen right there, and it opens right up for you. So that is kind of the beauty of working with this bezel. It's very smooth acting, doesn't stick, it's very fluid moving through the operating system, which in this case is Tizen, where most Android Wear or most smartwatches are running what's called Android Wear. This is Samsung's proprietary operating system, and quite frankly, I actually like it a little bit more than Android Wear. I know that is sacrilege for many of you Android fanboys out there, but I actually do like it. And in this iteration, they've actually opened up Tizen so that Tizen works with multiple devices, multiple Android devices, not just Samsung's own line of Gear phones like the Note 5, Note 4s, their Galaxy devices. In this case, you can actually use it with a multitude of devices. I've tested the device with Samsung's own Note 5 and with Google's Nexus 6P. Again, really a great watch. This is probably their best watch to date. When you go into the settings, some of the things you'll see, you go into the display settings, you have a couple options here. You can go in and change the watch faces first off, which, like I said, you get quite a few watch faces. If you want to change the watch faces, you're going to display, you're going to go into watch faces, and you'll find that with some of the watch faces, it actually gives you the option to change the style. Often this will mean changing the color or adding different elements to a watch face. Each watch face is going to be unique. In this case, let's pick a watch face here where we can change some of the colors and things. So you'll see this particular watch face, the basic watch face, you can change the colors of the dial. So it'll let you move through those various options there, changing the different colors. And some of the watch faces will also let you change the hands. So you can change the hands, you can change the dial. Really, again, it just depends on which watch face you're looking at. Getting into some of the other functions, you can swipe down. That's going to show you a bunch of the quick settings, do not disturb, getting into the music, changing the display brightness. It also shows your connectivity and battery percentage, how much battery you have left. Speaking of battery, the first time we put on the Gear S, day one, first wear, when it was fully charged, we got about 60 hours out of it, but that was because I just connected it to a new phone that I had just set up the notifications, some of the settings. So it got a little more battery life than you typically see. In normal wear, what I've noticed is I've gotten about 24, somewhere between 24, 30 hours out of it. Really just depends on how busy my day was, how many notifications I've received. But that is what I'm pretty much seeing on average. Get a bunch of apps preloaded onto the device, including CNN, Bloomberg, which will show you information on the watch face. For me, I haven't really used that too much because, quite frankly, on a 1.2-inch watch, I'm not trying to read that much content. But where the watches really shine, of course, is for notifications and quick information, as well as the pedometer functions for those of you who are trying to stay fit or get fit. This is the standard version of the watch. You have this and the Classic. The Classic has a knurled bezel. In this case, this has the smooth bezel, kind of sporty. And you also have an LTE-enabled version. This version does not have LTE, so I can't speak to the battery life of the LTE-enabled version. The watch body on the Gear S2 is actually made from 316L stainless steel, which actually has a high corrosion resistance. That's what the L is for. It's IP68 water resistance rated, which is below what I'd like to see from smartwatches in general. I'd really like to see some of the atmospheric ratings, but at least in this case, the 8 on that IP68 means that the watch is watertight up to 3 meters, that's 10 feet, for no more than 30 minutes. So you don't really have to worry about babying the watch when you wash your hands or anything like that. On the back side of the watch, let's get that open here, you get a heart rate monitor. It's been pretty good so far, this heart rate monitor, but the one thing you're going to want to know is that when using this particular style of heart rate monitor, which actually flashes light through your skin and picks up your pulse readings that way, they're not as accurate when you wear them on the top of your wrist. You have to wear them on the bottom of your wrist to actually get some good readings, to get some accurate settings. So you're going to want to be mindful of that. The Samsung Gear S2 does not come with traditional lugs. So what they've done is they've placed buttons on the back side of the watch. They've placed buttons here so that you can slide the watch bands right off by pushing out and down a little bit. And you'll see they slide right off there. There's the mechanism that you use to actually get the watch off. And so you can actually put different bands on there. They're offering a bunch of different bands on the website. So one of the things Samsung did in this iteration of their Gear line, of the Gear Smart Wearables, is instead of having a proprietary cradle that the watch sits in, this time we actually get a wireless charging dock. So you just set the watch right there, and this one isn't plugged up right now, but it'll actually go into kind of a table stand, a bedside mode, which will show you the amount of charge that's on the watch in a big bright display. And it just sits there via magnet right there in the cradle. Now, because this still is a proprietary charging cradle, even though it's wireless, you're going to have to pick up another one of these, let's say for travel or for use at work if you want to have a backup. But it is nice, again, to have a wireless version instead of something you have to plug up and snap in and connect. There is a microphone on the Gear S2 that allows you to use S-Voice to speak commands to your phone, to the watch. So that is a nice option to have. The Gear S2 is available and works with any Android phone running Android 4.4 or better. And in my using this with the Note 5 and again with Google's Nexus 6P, I haven't found where the phone lags behind working with a device that is not made by Samsung. You won't necessarily get all the functions if you're using it with a non-Samsung device. Obviously, some things aren't going to work with S-Voice, and I saw some notifications, or specifically, actually, I saw that some of the music functions weren't quite as fluid working with the Nexus 6P. But other than that, everything really seems to work pretty much on par as it does with one of Samsung's own devices. So again, Beautiful device. I think this is Samsung's best watch yet. I'm a bit of a close tie with the first Gear S because I really like the size and the style of that device. This one is so small, it should work well for anybody's wrist, male or female. They really went with a much smaller bezel and body that they did with their previous S devices. So you should be pretty good to go regardless of whether you have a really large wrist or a really small wrist. So this is the Gear S2 Manager. This is the Gear S2 Manager running on the Nexus 6P from Huawei. The Gear S2 Manager allows you to connect with non-Samsung and Samsung. This is actually the portal that allows you to connect with the watch through whatever phone you're using. Except when you use this with a non-Samsung phone, it's going to download 2 or 3 extra pieces of software, connector software that lets you connect with the non-Samsung devices. The watch faces in my use case have been much easier to actually access through the Gear S2 Manager and get in there and stylize. So I really found it much simpler to do through here. So if you want to customize those watch faces, this is the place to do it directly from the Gear Manager. You can go into the Gear Manager and also set which notifications you want to get from which apps. You can set how those notifications function on the watch, such as you can set it so that it blocks notifications from apps selected and manage notifications from appearing on the phone, appearing on the Gear rather, while the phone's being used. You can have it turn on the screen on the phone. You can have it turn on the screen on the Gear when you're receiving new notifications. So you tap Manage Notifications, and you can go in here and actually select which apps are going to send you notifications. You can go ahead and select all, but you're going to have a very busy watch. Or you can deselect them and actually go in and just check one by one which apps you want to send notifications to the watch. Pretty handy there to be able to have that kind of granular control. That's something you'll see across the different devices if you're using a Samsung or non-Samsung device. You can go into Apps Layout and control those app screens and kind of how they fit in that round dial on the Samsung Gear S. You can go into Settings, and that's going to allow you to go through a list of different things, your quick messages, the individual app settings, like you can go into the weather app. That's going to let you control the parameters of the weather, which cities you're pulling weather information for, Fahrenheit or Celsius, the auto refresh, does it want to use your current location, all that information. You can go here and set the home key with a double press so that it will launch a specific app. When you double press that home key, you see you have the list of apps here that you can choose to launch when you double press that home key. And then there's send SOS messages. So these are kind of like panic button alerts. So you can set who those messages are going to go to, sending emergency texts. And so that's a pretty cool function to have. Definitely something, let's say you buy this as a gift for a kid who's going off to college, and or maybe a high school child or junior high child, and you might have this as something that they can use as a panic button, and that'll be pretty cool for parents who are maybe wanting to give their child a peace of mind with having that particular option. It has Find My Gear, so you can find a lost or stolen watch, and allows you to go to the Samsung Gear App Store and pick up new apps for the watch. So that is all you pretty much get in the Gear S2 Gear Manager. Pretty healthy amount of apps. The one downfall to Tizen is that as you have people who are developing for Samsung or developing for the watch market, they're probably going to develop for Android Wear first because it's a broader market, and Tizen is pretty small in terms of the ecosystem, the people that are using it, at least here in the States, here in America. So Android Wear is seen across more devices. But in my use, I found that pretty much the devices, the apps that I'm going to use on it are there for this device. Apps like Yelp, it works with Twitter, works with some of those other apps. So I'm really happy with the information I'm getting on the watch. Again, 1.2-inch screen. I'm not trying to see too much on it other than some really critical information. So that's the Gear S2 Manager. And there you go. That's your look at the Gear S2 from Samsung. If this video's helped you at all, if it's helped you make a purchasing decision, or heck, you just enjoyed watching it. That does happen sometimes. Please leave a comment below. If you have any questions, anything that didn't get answered in the video, I'll get to it. I'll answer it. And again, if it's helped you out, please like, share, and subscribe with anybody you know who may be interested in finding out more about the Gear S2 or any of the videos we've done on the various tech that's out there. Again, I'm Tashaka Armstrong for FoxLA.com. Thank you for watching.